Welcome back to Energetically You, where we talk about optimal wellness, abundant mindset, healthy habits, and wellpreneurship. I'm your host, Megan Swan, a wellness mindset and integrated wellness business coach, and the founder of the Sustainable Integrated Wellness Approach. I help high-performance women thread more wellness into their lifestyle so that it becomes a way of life and not a check mark on their to-do list. I design custom, approachable wellness lifestyles and business strategies because there is no one-size-fits-all in wellness nor in entrepreneurship. Today, I'm excited to be having this great conversation with a friend. Her name is Rory Sadoff. She is a functional health coach and somatic practitioner. She focuses on nourishing the mind, body, and soul as one big system that all intertwines. Rory provides clients with the support, tools, techniques, and exercises needed to radically shift their human experience, navigate the ins and outs of the world, and step into their most embodied self, all things that deeply resonate with me, as you know. She works in a way that is geared towards long-term sustainable results. We share that passion and focus as well, whether it is your health, nervous system, or emotional resiliency. So I'm very excited for this conversation. She's going to dive into the story. I don't actually know it myself yet, so that's why it's going to be super interesting. She's going to be open and honest with us about the very conscious decoupling she relatively recently had with her partner. So let's dive in. Welcome, Rory. I'm so excited for this conversation, mostly because I feel like we get to kind of like organically catch up with the conversation. So how are you? Let's do the first little chime in. How's your day? How's August been treating you so far?
Yeah, it's been great. I just moved into a new house that took forever to build. But it's awesome kind of making a house a home, if you will, and making it whatever I want it to be. It's my first time owning a house. So it's been a lot of newness and creation, which feels really good. Feels like a new chapter. So I'm excited about that.
Well, congratulations. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
I absolutely love this green color behind you on the wall.
Yeah. This is just me to a T, but I got keys on Friday, like August 5th. And then my girlfriend is an interior designer and she does like accent walls. And she came in that weekend, and I'm not kidding. She probably worked 35 hours. She did 2 accent walls. She did interior design work. She did a backsplash. Like, it's just how I am. I want everything to be livable and abundant and ready for me. So
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's start by getting caught up. I mean, I remember, I'm going to script the timeline, but I feel like it was maybe even a year ago where you posted about the conscious uncoupling of you and your long-term partner, and you just spoke about it eloquently. So I'm curious, can you kind of walk us back, what was the process for you to get to that point, or, were you at that point from the beginning?
Yeah, it's definitely, just redirect me if I go into any rabbit holes, but I mean, it's relationships in general I like to think of it as like, there's 3 buckets that's involved, right? You have your bucket, your partner has theirs, and then this relationship is this 3rd bucket. And if we're not entirely pouring into our individual buckets, how can we pour into the relationship? And Tyler and I went back and forth quite a bit with kind of having this conversation of like, what's fixable versus what is fate. And I like to think that there's 3 types of partnerships that can occur. You have like a trigger partner. Typically it's short-lived. It's really hot and heavy. Physical intimacy is really strong, but they just trigger you into some deep healing. Then you have your journey mate or journey mates, if you will, that, there to really guide you back home to a certain degree, but they have their expiration date. And then you have your side-by-side partner. And he and I just kept running into just the same conversation, the same obstacles, and nothing was really changing. We'd talk about it. Communication would be open. And then it just lacked action. And I knew that I needed to break that cycle. We both did. So it was very much a decision that we both made. And then we were like, let's just kind of touch base in 4 months. We missed each other a lot. We both tried dating other people. It wasn't him so more than me. I knew that that's not really what I needed at the time. So it kind of just brought us back together with this new intention of being together and co-creating and what we really needed to work on. And to this day, we're still really trying to figure out, you know, your non-negotiables in relationship. No one's perfect. So what are you, for lack of a better term, really willing and dealing with in terms of imperfections in another? What really matters and what is just not a big deal? Like what doesn't need to become this huge ordeal if you're not on the same page about or whatnot. So him and I are still navigating that. But when you love each other so much, there's that opportunity to lean into the discomfort of saying, what's mine in this? What's yours in this? And can we get support individually and together to come to the other side of this, like sacred union, if you will?
Mm. So, I mean, I don't know if you have the same vision, but it seems to me like that there's a sort of a trend to be either more transparent or less reactionary.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just an issue of like a social media thing where we're more conscious about how we communicate things that are sort of
Mm-hmm.
in the ether forever. But I mean, 20 years ago, nobody was talking about consciously uncoupling. Like, I feel like this is hopefully a new evolution of the reality that more people are open-minded to rewriting or, writing their own story instead of like seeking this Disney fairy tale that we all know on some level doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah. And I think too, Tyler and I came together with the same value of what relationship is. It's honesty, it's transparency, it's communication. So in that, it's really what we've dedicated to, like having the uncomfortable conversations. And sometimes it's not right away. Sometimes, we're human, life gets in the way, logistics get in the way. We can't have a conversation right away. It goes a couple of days and then we feel the resentment build. So we each have our patterns in the dynamic. I would say, I am more of a perfectionist, a fixer. It's very, and living primarily in my masculine for a lot of my life, it can be challenging at times just to kind of sit back and let him do his thing and not feel like I need to go to him and attach. So uncoupling gave me a really good opportunity to look at my codependency and my attachment styles of how much do I attach to his feelings? How much do I take that personal? How much do I make that about me? And his primary response is shutting down. So he'll shut down if something triggers him, if something doesn't feel good. He typically won't go immediately to having an open, transparent conversation. And that's kind of where we're at right now, is like, how do we both stay so open when we're activated, when we're wounded, and know that we're in this together, we're on the same team, and we value that. But it's also very hard in the moment to remind yourself of that. So it's definitely not always easy or walk in the park or super flowy. But again, finding that balance of, we both want and desire a relationship that is more flow than not, right? So kind of figuring out where that line is.
Totally. So is this something that you have, since talking about it openly, publicly, worked with people more on? Or is it like, do you see it thread into your work on emotional resiliency in general?
I do. I think a little less directly. But I really think it comes down to it is a lot of people stay because of the potential, because of safety, because of things that are built. I forget there's like a name for it, but obviously it's harder to leave and separate yourself when there's kids or there's finances or things are intertwined. We're pretty lucky that we don't have any of that. But we did have 3 years of memories together, and 3 years is a pretty long time. It's actually the longest relationship either one of us has been in. But I think it took a lot of self-worth on both of our ends to be like, we're just not that happy and we deserve to be happy. And really feeling confident enough to say, I'm worthy of it all. I deserve everything, and kind of walking away from that. So indirectly, yes, I work a lot with women specifically on knowing their truths, knowing their desires, not wavering on that. And I think that shows up a lot in careers and intimate relationships, but it's not something that I'm actively like helping people work through relationship stuff. They just kind of come to it on their own after working through their own stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think that, I lost my train of thought. Well, I was going to ask you about how the stories that we tell ourselves, and then like as a couple, there's this story.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, sometimes it's really difficult to let go of it. Do you think in hindsight, you would have been able to have the clarity not taking the break? Because I think people are just scared of like what that's going to do to the relationship. There's not maybe a certain level of trust or foundation that it seems like a safe thing to do, to kind of walk away or surrender.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is something that I actively continue to remind myself of and work on, is knowing what I want and desire is not too much, and is not too much to ask for. I'm not too much. I'm not too loud. That was a lot of the stuff that was in my ear growing up, and a lot of stuff that I needed to work through. And I am more than willing to look at my side, right? Like take 100% ownership of my 50% in the relationship, to the best of my knowledge, to the best of my ability. And I think in the past, my pattern in relationship is to stay as long as I can until something really volatile happens. I was like a fixer a lot in past relationships. That's how I found my worth. And so I have had to really make a clear distinction of like, I'm not going to try to be his coach. I'm not going to try to show him where he's wrong. I'm not going to try to show him his wounds. That can happen in his own time, because it's not sexy to mother your partner, or I'm a big believer in people need to come to those realizations on their own. Can you support and help them get there? Yes. That's why why I guide and help women do that. But getting to that answer on their own, I think, is a really important part of the process.
Yeah. We share that. I mean, I guess as coaches, we always will, but
right.
This fine line of, at the end of the day, a coaching relationship only works when the other person is seeking the support, right? Instead of, So, what are some embodiment practices that you do personally that help you sort of feel into this, you're not too much, grounded place?
Yeah, so much of my learnings has been in the embodiment, in the body, not so much more mentally. So I think for me, breath work is really big, and just moving the energy, brain dumping what I'm thinking, why I'm thinking it. Sometimes I rip it up. Sometimes it's not something I want to rip up. It's something I want to, keep near and dear to my heart. But I think shaking it out is like a basic thing that I really do. If I feel like yucky or I feel heavy, just like kind of going and shaking it out and releasing the stagnancy and the fear and all of kind of the low vibration energy. And I'm also very much like a verbalizer. It's not necessarily a embodiment practice, but I will forever have a coach and or therapist. I will always, confide in somebody and open up and be vulnerable. And I'm very open to anything and everything being a teacher or a lesson or whatever it needs to be. So I think in terms of embodiment, how do I open? How do I stay open when I so badly want to close? And just a basic kind of guideline I have for my lifestyle is the first hour of waking up, I don't look at my phone. I don't look at anything. I get right outside with my dog. And then I typically journal, lay in the sun, lay in the grass, ground myself, and just set up my day and really take inventory, like checking in with like, what is going on in my body? What emotions am I feeling? Where is that coming from? So I think that's a good place to start, just so that you can kind of clear your vessel.
Yeah. Love that. Because I think, again, this is a common theme for women in particular, where because I completely relate and will also always have some sort of coach or therapist or multiple.
Right.
And I think this quote unquote stigma that was once around that is, largely gone. But I think there's still this issue for a lot of women, and I'm guessing we're socialized this way, like to seek that too out in a relationship. Like you're waiting for your partner to have interest, to hear all the things you want to vent about, and like not necessarily give you concrete feedback, but more the sounding board. And over the years, I've found that my relationships are more successful when you sort of have these buckets or boundaries about what really needs to be, hashed out.
Yeah. And I love that, because I think I alluded to this earlier, but you're just not going to get, no one's perfect. No one's going to be the perfect friend. They have all the boxes. Your partner's also not going to be that either. And I think when you take the expectation off of that, and that's something that we really worked on, was like, cool, we're not going to be everything for each other. We need to fill our cups in other areas and not expect us to do that 100%, right? So like having girlfriends, having hobbies, having conversations with them so that my partner isn't responsible for hearing every single thought that goes on in my head, I think sets it up for success. Because when you have kind of like all of your energy in that one area, you are going to be let down to some degree. So I think having really clear, kind of like you're saying, like boundaries and buckets of what you get from certain dynamics. And obviously in an intimate relationship, being really clear on what that is so that you're happy and your needs are met, but having other things that kind of fill you up, that allow you to be, have that energy. Like I think a good instance for this is my Tyler is not a dog lover. So I have a lot of friends who have dogs that I'm like, cool, we're going to go play at the dog park and it's just going to be me. And that fills my cup because I love my little pupper, but it is a sticking point in the relationship. So it's kind of like, okay, you won't meet this need. We've accepted that. How am I going to go get my need met otherwise? Or can I meet that need? Do I not need anybody else to validate me and meet that need? But is that something that I actually need to work on and meeting myself?
Yeah. Can you give us some other examples? Besides maybe ones that you, in the time, and I'm curious, was it negotiated the 4 months? Like that's like a random amount of time.
Yeah. It was negotiated. We kind of said, like, we kind of broke up after the new year, after holidays. We kind of knew that was going to happen. And then we were just like, let's kind of reconvene April 1 and just see where we're at and just have a conversation, get coffee, things like that. And we had connected like before then, here and there. We had some weird instances come up where like attention was needed. I was also I signed a contract. He's a real estate agent. I signed a contract to move into a new build in October, and I just moved in August. So like he was my agent through that time. So there needed to be some contact. But to your question, another example of that is I am extremely quirky. I'm extremely, and this is a good challenge for me in the relationship of like being too much, being weird, having like voices, loving to dance. Like I have a lot of extroverted. I'm a Leo. So that's very much just who I am. And he's a Pisces. He's very more like to himself. He has a calmer energy about him. I know that he's not going to come dance with me. So I have girlfriends that I'll go out and dance with like once a month or something like that. So more of that energy that he has no interest in doing, being okay with that and accepting that instead of saying like, oh, I need a partner who's going to do this with me. That's not a non-negotiable for me. I just need to be able to get that somewhere else. And it's obviously, in my experience, I think women are a little bit more excited to go like shake their butts on a dance floor and sweat and have a lot of fun. Right. So it's just kind of those examples of those aren't hardcore non-negotiables for me. So I have no problem being able to say, cool, it's not your thing. No problem at all.
Yeah. I think it's really common. We get sort of caught up in these, like my partner doesn't want to do X, Y, Z with me, but I find when you just flip the narrative, you can think of something that, you will go do with him, but you don't love doing. And ultimately you find energy draining instead of exciting. And it's like this point of discussion, and that the idea is to enjoy something together. But if one person isn't really there, then that certainly adds layers of tension over time.
For sure. And that's the biggest thing. Like, I love that you said that, if they're not really there, because that was a big point of tension, was the presence, the ability to be present. His career is nonstop. If you don't answer the phone, then maybe they don't want to work with you, and blah, blah, blah. So, he's done a really good job of kind of setting boundaries around that, and just maintaining presence for himself too, was the really biggest thing, was noticing like, okay, am I happy being on all the time and answering to people's like needs? And that's really what that career choice is. And I will say, I feel called to share this now, but this was something that we were wavering back and forth with for quite a while before we decided. And this is honestly something that we still discuss to this day, kind of like falling in that journey mate category. Is there an expiration date on this relationship? If so, what does that look like? It's still very much a part of this conversation, because we just don't want to fall into that complacency that relationship can lead to. And I think the first part, before we really uncoupled for the first time, I was in this gray area for a really long time. I didn't want to pull the trigger. I was happy in a lot of ways, but I also wasn't getting my needs met in a lot of other ways. And I eventually found the ability to be really comfortable in the I don't know. And I think sometimes we feel like we need this like direct answer of like, it needs to be a yes or it needs to be a no, or we make a choice because it's easier to choose. And I hung out in the I don't know for quite some time, and that gray area. And it was actually really, really great for me to do that, because I think it's allowed me to feel safer in the other I don't knows in my life, and let that actually be a full answer, not forced a yes or no when it wasn't there, but just being like, I don't know is an answer, and it can change tomorrow, and it can change in a month, and it can change in a week, but to just be okay in that. And I think that can be really uncomfortable. And it was quite uncomfortable for me to be in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as humans, that's really like one of the most uncomfortable places to sit in. And I think what people are coming to realize with post-pandemic, like that kind of is an aspect of the quote unquote new normal, is there's always going to be a lot more unknowns going forward. And a lot of people just really don't deal with that well. Can you give us some tools that kind of helped you? Like, I personally, everything you just mentioned about, being more in your body, moving your body, journaling, but is there something that really, and I guess I was going to ask as well, like in hindsight, do you think like you should have made that decision sooner, or that was all divine timing?
I think it was all really divine timing. And even now, like I lived with him for about a month and a half before I moved here, and everything was amazing. Like, we had a great time together, and now I've moved into my place, and we're having some of these deeper conversations, and we're really trying to see, can we work through some of these things? And we're both very transparent and open about it, and staying open through this, and, seeking support for, couples therapy, couples coaching, things like that. But, in terms of your first question, like, how do you kind of work through that? The first thing is, like, I had a ton of support. I have a coach. I have a ton of really great girlfriends who know me and know what I, desire, and also know Tyler and know kind of the ins and outs of what I was thinking and feeling. Like I said, I'm a verbalizer. So it's really helpful if I can be like, I'm on your calendar for an hour this week. Like, I get 30 minutes, you get 30 minutes, go type thing, where we just get to kind of speak on everything. And I think the biggest thing for me was releasing like shame and judgment about not knowing, because really what the biggest thing for me in this all was being a perfectionist, coming from this like go, get stuff done mindset and mentality. That was very hard for me to sit back and say, I'm not 100% all in on any direction. I'm just kind of sitting back. So releasing the shame and judgment of like, I should have this figured out. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? And taking that pressure off myself, and then just giving myself permission to really be, and not be anxious about the future decision or what the future is going to be, but just being right here in my body. So coming back to present moment. And I think breath work is really a wonderful way to do that. And not even breath work, not this like elaborate breath work, but just coming back to breath, coming back to feeling the air come through your nose, move through your body. Where does it go? And getting really curious about what's happening. So many times, or, everybody makes meaning of everything that's happening at typically all points in the day. But curiosity is something that I really invite a lot of my clients to do, and is something that I really try to embody. Is instead of making meaning of something, how can I just get curious about it? Right. So, and kind of going down the rabbit hole with questions there, from that curiosity, if you will.
That's a good shift. Yeah. I think it's another thing that, we're maybe just like the Hollywood version of it. We get caught up in these timelines of what relationships have to look like, and that not knowing is pressure to the relationship as well. Like that there needs to be certainty on both parts all the time. Right. And like where are we going, and the labels and all the things. Like I'm currently in my most successful relationship of my life, which is going on 13 years. And I think a lot of it is due to the fact in the beginning, neither of us had any expectations. We were both coming out of divorces, or like there wasn't that pressure on like where that was this going. And it gave us a lot, years to kind of explore that. And it continues to evolve. Yeah. So what are you working on with your clients, and what did you want to tell us about your work today?
Yeah. I would say so much of part of what I'm stepping into more and more is the somatic piece of everything. So, really that's at the forefront of my work, is bringing clients and bringing myself, like I mentioned, back into our body, right? We make meanings of things. We, work it out in our heads, but what happens if we stop making meaning of everything and we just dropped into our bodies and we just felt the sensations, the colors, the textures, the temperatures, whatever that looks like. So somatic experiencing is something that is really at the forefront of my work right now, and slowing all of my clients down, because they're all perfectionists, type A, go-getting, successful women. So really slowing that all down and just bringing them back into the present moment, not the future, not the past, not the story, not the belief, that has a time and place. Don't get me wrong. The trauma vortex has a time and a place to work through and connect the dots. But really what I do a lot with is, again, working with the trauma at some point, and then also coming back into the body that maybe has been severed or traumatized, and working with the nervous system in the present day based on what's happened in the past. So that's my favorite work that I do. And I do it with all of my clients, whether I'm working with them in the functional medicine realm or just kind of that somatic one-on-one life coaching realm, if you will, quote unquote. And that's definitely where my passion lies, and where I see kind of all my work going in the future.
And why is sustainability at the forefront for you? We share that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many quick fixes out there. And, let's just speak in the health and wellness space. There's so many things that, lose weight fast or blah, blah, blah. And it just puts you in this spiral and this cycle of self-sabotage and not good enough, and I'll be happy when ... So sustainability might take a little bit longer, but I think that's how you find ultimate peace, through every day waking up and feeling good and feeling in your body and feeling connected. And that's why nervous system work is so important, because you can do all the things, health and wellness. You can drink the green juice, you can work out, you can get outside. But if you're in this constant fight or flight, freeze or fawn, like trauma response, and you're never regulated, then you'll never really fully heal. So that ability to bring everybody that I work with into their bodies and into the present moment, I think is what allows them to really be more here and make more of an impact that I think everyone is trying to make in some way or another.
Amazing. Can you leave us with maybe like a phrase that you use to help people kind of immediately drop into their body, or maybe a mantra? I really love the curiosity versus the defining it, but is there something else?
Yeah. I mean, I think that was definitely my first. I think the two words that come to mind are curiosity and surrender, and, feeling into what is that like for you? Like, what is that like for you? What are you experiencing right now in your body? And it takes people out of what am I making that mean versus what am I experiencing? Let me close my eyes. Let me think about that, and think about that meaning like feel into that and really experience it. And then surrendering more into the moment, more into trusting that you're typically in the right place at the right time. And once you start to really believe that, alongside actually like tangibly doing the work, right? I think it can be, we have more choice and power than sometimes we let on to believe. And also there is something bigger working around us, right? So kind of finding the balance there, doing your side of the work and your part of the work, but also really trusting that what you're working on or what you're doing is happening for you.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to leave us off. And thank you for this beautiful conversation.
Yeah, that was so
honesty,
fun.
sharing all of this. And so we'll have all of the ways that people can connect with you in the show notes. And anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's it. I think just stand in your power, stand in your truth, and I think it'll get you a long way.
Amazing. Thanks, Rory.
Yeah, thank you.